Good Monday morning of the 15th week of Ordinary Times. Today is also the feast or the memorial of St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure was a 13th century Franciscan theologian. He succeeded immediately Francis himself, and he was the general of the order. I think that's how you put it. He was a great administrator, but he was a most of all religious, philosophical genius. St. Bonaventure, to me, is one of the most underrated of all the great theologians in the history of the church. And he, you always think of Aquinas, of course, and rightfully so. But he was a contemporary. I don't know if they even knew each other, but they were contemporaries, roughly speaking. And his theological work, is highly mystical and reflective, poetic. I studied Bonaventure a couple of times in my student life for years, and grad studies. I took a course in Bonaventure from Jack Doyle here at SLU, but I also had read him before. And for a monk like me, Bonaventure is sublime. He not only could write, he leads by his writing into profound reflection. He guides you into reflection. From my point of view, his famous work, maybe not his most famous, but for me, his most famous work, is in Latin, it's called the Itinerarium Mentis ad Deum, the mind's road to God. And it is an ascending contemplation or reflection on the immanence and discoverability of God in all things. And it starts with matter, the material world, and he works all the way up into the soul. It's a masterpiece of self-reflection, of reflective, prayerful life. Maybe I didn't say that well, but I have to put it funny, and maybe the monk in me comes through when I remember Bonaventure and ever reading him. I have to say I prefer him to Aquinas, even though a genius of Aquinas. Bonaventure touched me in a way that was very special, because I think the kind of reflection he was advocating and lived it himself was what I aspired to. A reflective life. That was the thing that was so powerful for me in the monasticism of my own order, is the silence. I remember my Uncle Harry came to visit me one time when we were walking through the corridor it was the Hartford Monastery. And it was about, I don't know, there had to be in that house there about 75 guys living there, okay? And we were all in our rooms, or whatever the case may be. And we were walking the corridors, and he said to me how quiet it is here. You got 75 guys all living next to how quiet it is. That's the truth. The silence. The silence. And I think that for me, and that's Bonaventure, in the silence one discovers, I think, the beauty of life, the beauty of whatever is real. And of course, the Godhead, God. There is a line, be silent and know that I am God. And I think that captures it. Be silent and know that I am God. That we live the reflective life in silence. Notice now that as I reflect profoundly on this mystery, Lily is defending my house against an intruder. Who knows I was out there? Leave it alone. Lel. She says, I own the place. You're just renting. I think, as a hunter, whatever this is worth to you, if you're a deer hunter, 99% of the time is spent in silence. You sit up in a tree. You can sit up in that tree for 8 hours a day and not see a deer. And he said, what do you do up there? You be quiet and let the world speak to you. That's Bonaventurean, is you let the world speak to you. And you'd be surprised how she will speak to you if you're silent. If you start questioning her or moving around, or you get restless like Lily is right now, the world will not speak to you. The world will not. But if you're silent, believe me, I have to say that I mean it sincerely. That in the quietness of the wilderness, in the woods, whatever it may be, in that silence, the natural community comes alive to you. You'd be surprised. When you first get into the woods, I'll give you an example, and you climb your tree stand, you're sitting up there. Nothing's moving around you. They're there, but they're trying to figure out. I'm not talking about the deer, I'm talking about birds and squirrels and rabbits and anything that's alive. But once you sit in that tree, if you don't move around, you keep your mouth shut, don't make noise, just be quiet. How it all comes alive. The birds, the animals, first of all, the squirrels, they'll start scurrying around, grabbing their lunch for the day. And you'd be surprised. While the silence remains, it is a silence, it's a silence, I don't know how to put it right. It's a quiet world that is teeming with life and chatter, but it's the natural chatter of the woods itself. It could be a branch, a leaf. It could be a squirrel climbing on a branch and knocking it off something. You got to be there to see it, but you don't get it if you're talking. You can't get it if you're distracted. You have to be silent for it. And I think that's Bonaventure, especially in the beginning, in the Itinerarium Menozodeum, when he's talking about, when he is reflecting on the natural community, the natural world, even our own bodies, to be silent. Let the natural world speak to us. You see, and what does it speak to us? It speaks to us about God. Remember, the Itinerarium Menozodeum, it's the road to God. And you find out that God is here the whole time. The road is itself the revelation. That's monasticism with a vengeance. It's true. I think in the monastic life, which I lived intensely for 11 years, there is no loneliness. There is a companionship even in and within the silence. I don't know how to explain that. We would spend an hour in the morning in prayer, but it was silent prayer. And silent. It was special. Once you allow yourself to enter into the silence, then the world around you speaks to you. Whether it's your fellow humans, your friends, your fellow religious, whatever it may be, whoever's listening to this. Okay? Be silent and know that I am God. And I think that's Bonaventure. That's also Paul of the Cross, the founder of my order. Okay? Be silent and know that I'm God. Our monasteries are silent, and yet they teem with life. You're not alone. You're in a community of friends who in their silence, in their quiet, are in the search of the divine. Be silent and know that I am God. That is the truth. I love the monasticism I lived, and that's one reason I wanted to live alone. I felt when I came here to chair at SLU, I asked the order if I could. We had a community here. It was a retreat house, and I asked if I could live by myself. I felt called to live by myself, to assume more responsibility for my life. But also I felt the need to be solely focused on my work at the university. And I knew if I was in the retreat house, I'd have to get involved in the retreat movement. How could you not? And that would be a major, major challenge to me, a task. I know, and I wanted to be quiet. When I came home from SLU, I wanted to be quiet. See? And I am now. Even when Lily's now sleeping on the couch. Honest to God, you got to see her. Anyway, see, I don't know. Just trying to share a thought with you this morning. Yeah, be silent and know that I'm God. That is Franciscan spirituality with a vengeance, I think. Because if you are silent in your heart, the world will speak to you, from nature to humans. But if you're busy in your heart, and you're going to hear nothing but your own clatter. That's the truth. It's a great line. Be silent and know that I am God.